Hey guys, welcome to Nikki and Mallory. This is the tutorial for the cell phone carrier. If you purchase the kit for this, you can fast forward to the assembly portion of this tutorial. And if you are following along from scratch and you have all of your materials and supplies, then let's get started. I will not be talking throughout this entire tutorial. There will be written instructions on the screen. However, for my bag ladies, if you purchased a kit and you run into some issues, make sure you send us an email at create@nikkimade.com. So I am popping in for this portion of the tutorial because I'm using this sample piece of leather just to show you what you would be doing to the front portion of your cell phone carrier. This is where you will be punching your holes, essentially the front part of the bag, and applying your magnetic closure. I'm using a sample piece of leather because I don't have time to waste leather. So instead of making a whole new cell phone carrier that I'm not going to need, I'm just using this sample piece of leather as a demonstration of how you would be punching out your holes and applying your hardware. So this piece right here is a washer. It generally comes with a magnetic closure. So if you purchase washers on your own, then you can use this piece at your discretion. My bag making kits, ladies, you will not have this piece. I don't generally add washers depending on the style of the bag. I'm supposed to reinforce extra support for your mag closures to hold on to. However, because we are using leather and we're leaving our interior raw, I don't use washers because I have found that in the past they will scratch up things that I'm adding to my bag. Yeah, short story sweet, we're not using them. So now we're going to move on to threading our needle. You'll place your thread in the hole of the needle, and then you'll have this little piece hanging out. From there, you'll take your needle and pierce the center area of that thread. Take that little piece of thread and drag it over everything. Take that other end of the thread and pull it until there is a smaller opening. Then you'll take the opposite end of that thread and double knot it. If you need those instructions again, just rewind this portion of the video. Okay, when it comes to hand stitching, because this is a new video, I want to walk you guys through this in case you have never hand stitched before. You're going to take your needle and thread and stick that through the first hole of the interior of the bag. Pull that through until your knot reaches the base of the bag. Now from here, because we're coming out the first hole, we're going to go inside of the second hole where that thread is coming out. So I'm just closing this piece together and I'm going to go through the second hole right below it, but of course I'm going to add some clips just to assist me with my stitching. Now we're going to go through the second hole and out the second hole. If you have taken a class with me before or you have made a kit before, then you should already know this technique. So now we're coming out the second hole and we are going to reverse that stitch and go back up to the first hole and out of the first hole. Now this is what creates our lock stitch. If you sew on a sewing machine, or even if you don't, now you know this is considered a lock stitch. Now we'll go back through that second hole and out the second hole, and from here you should be able to complete your stitch going all the way down. So instead of now going back and forth, we have our first two holes lock stitch. Now we'll move on to the third hole, out the third hole, and then the fourth hole, out the fourth hole. We are essentially starting with a basic stitch or the basic stitch method, and we're going to stitch going all the way down using the basic stitch. However, we want to have the appearance of a saddle stitch. So once we get all the way to the bottom of this stitch, then we will reverse so that all of these little gaps in between our thread are completely closed. And just to add a quick tip, because this is something that I notice in all of my classes, it doesn't matter how many times I repeat myself, please make sure that as you are stitching each section, you are giving your thread a nice tug and pull just to make sure that it is securely stitched together. Now, if you are stitching lightly, then that will create gaps between your thread. You do not want that. One, it's not cute. Two, it's not durable. Three, it's just trash, because then you notice that there's these huge gaps between your stitching and it's like, yeah, you basically put in all that work for nothing. So make sure that each time you stitch, you are pulling your thread tightly. Now that we have reached the bottom of our bag, we are going to do a little stitch detailing on the corner. So I'm just going through that last hole, and then I'm going to continue going through the last hole, but on the exterior essentially. So the thread is showing on the outside, and you'll see right here. All I'm doing is triple looping this same hole so that the thread is showing on the outside. Once I give that about 2 or 3 stitches so that it is distinctive enough so you can see it, then I'll just reverse my stitch and go right back up to the top. Now that we have reached the top, we're going to do the same detailing that we just did at the bottom at the top. So you'll make sure you get to the last hole and then triple loop, double loop the last hole so that you can get that distinctive appearance of the thread on the exterior of the bag. And then from here, we want to make sure we lock off this stitch so that our thread just doesn't go unraveling on us, which of course thread for leather doesn't typically do that. It's very, very thick, very durable. So we're going to go back into the last hole, and instead of going all the way through that hole, you'll come through the interior of the bag. And this just ensures that we are able to lock off our thread and hide it so that it's not noticeable. I'm giving that a nice pull so that it is secure. And then I'm going to take that needle and stick it anywhere along the side seam. I'm doing this because I'm at the top, so I can't come out of anywhere else but the side seam. Once I pull that all the way through, now I can do a knot as close to the side seam as possible. Once you have that knot, which you can't really see in this video, get it very close to the seam, and then you can cut off that excess thread. Once you cut that piece off, the area that still has the knot attached, you're just going to hide it in between the side seams so that it is not visible. And you are done. So I've already completed the other side of this bag. You will move on to the other side and finish up your seams. Now this is how your bag should look when you have completed stitching it together. And of course, don't pay any attention to my magnetic closure here at the top because we haven't gotten to that yet, but I shoot in different orders, so just act like you didn't see that. For my bag making kits, you do have the option to edge dye your edges. You have a wool dauber and edge coat. However, it is completely up to you if you would like to dye your edges or not. You can leave them raw if that is your preference. I, again, am taking just a piece of scrap leather and showing you how to apply the dye on your leather. Now, for these edges, they're pretty smooth, which is why we are not focusing on burnishing them. They're pretty smooth. This leather is very soft, so you should be good to go with just applying a couple layers of edge dye. You'll apply the first layer, let it dry for about 10 minutes, and then apply as many layers as you would like afterwards. I am just doing a rough demo because, as you can see, my edges have dye. I took this bag completely apart just to do this tutorial, which I generally do before I assemble anything, but I was moving too fast. But we're not talking about me. So now we're going to finish these straps, which is the last part of your bag. So if you have the bag making kit, you will see on one end of your strap a white dot. I will explain that white dot in a second. For now, you're going to take the ends of the strap with the biggest holes, flip the end up like this, and attach your Chicago screw. So you are essentially flipping your strap up so that right sides are facing each other. Bag making kits, your holes do not have this little line above it. You will not have those lines, so do not think you are missing anything. Also, when it comes to the smaller holes of your strap, you will have a white dot that indicates which holes are the smaller ones. So those are the holes that you will apply your buttonhole screws to, which means the opposite strap has larger holes. those are the holes that these buttonhole screws will go into, and you'll see that in a second. When it comes to applying your magnetic closure to the tab, you want to make sure that the prongs are overlapping each other, but make sure that they are flat, because that portion is attaching itself to the bag. You do not want the other end or the other side of the bag to protrude because the prongs are not flat enough. So just make sure you give them a nice good pound, hit, punch, whatever you need to do to make sure they're flat. Just make sure they're flat. And if you have any excess contact cement coming out of the sides, which you shouldn't, apply a thin layer of contact cement. But let's just say some just squeezes out the side. Make sure that you are cleaning up the sides before you allow it to dry, because then it's going to dry like that and it'll look exactly like that. So as you can see, I'm just taking my thumb and my fingers to just clean off any cement that is trying to creep. And that just about wraps up our tutorial. I hope that you enjoyed it. And if you made this bag, show it off. Let people know that you made it. Be proud of yourself. This is a smaller item, but the fact that you made it to the end of this video means that you completed a bag on your own, and now you can move on to the next. So please, please be proud of yourself. Leatherwork is a tedious task and you did it. I will catch you guys on the next one. Peace.